Senator Tommy Tuberville of the great state of Alabama. Coach, a pleasure to have you here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Now, this week, the Senate has voted to pass and advance a $9 billion rescission bill that's backed by President Trump, and this legislation would cancel previously approved funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. But this was a tie-break vote, like we've seen others, with the Vice President of the United States coming in to cast that 51st vote.
Well, it's amazing to me that we had to bring the Vice President over to cut $9 billion from a $4 or $5 trillion budget. I mean, that's a half a day's work around here, $9 billion. But, you know, we hadn't balanced a budget in 20 years in this city, hadn't balanced a budget. Yeah, the American people voted for President Trump because of Doge and all the wasteful spending to try to cut all that out. And this is what the rescission package is about. So we're trying to deliver on his ideas and his campaign promises. But $9 billion, I mean, this should be 90 billion or 190 billion, not just 9 billion. But we got to start somewhere. We had a 50 vote count. We lost 3 Republicans last night, as you said. Vice President had to come in and break the tie, but we need to act. You know, we can spend money in a heartbeat up here. Everybody knows how to spend money. We don't know how to cut money, and we better learn how. 37 trillion in debt. We can't continue to pay $1 trillion a year interest on that debt.
How will that cultural shift happen in Washington, D.C.? Because we've seen over the years that Republicans and Democrats have been somewhat addicted to this debt. Even the late Senator John McCain, when he ran for president in 2008, said that drunken sailors were insulted by Congress because of the way they spend money. It's out of control. Do you think it's simply the environment of being within the Beltway? And do you think that other rescission packages will hit the floor of the United States Senate and the Congress as a whole in result of pushing President Trump's agenda forward?
Yeah, I'm very hopeful we'll have a lot more rescission packages, and hopefully we have another big, beautiful bill in the next 6 or 7 months that we can put more cuts into it. We cut some out of the budget in this last reconciliation package, but exactly right. I mean, this place is built on spending money, not saving money. And everybody up here wants to get reelected. How do you get reelected? You promise and deliver on bringing money back to your states. We do the same thing in the state of Alabama, but we've got to come up with some kind of priorities and making sure that our country is intact for years to come by making sure we can balance a budget. We can't continue to spend $2 trillion more a year like we've done for the last 4 years under the Biden administration. We can't do it. And if we do it, you're going to see some $20 loaves of bread. You know, cars are going to be $200,000-$300,000. The sky's going to be the limit for the inflation that we're going to see if we don't get control of our budget.
And do you prefer to attack the budget and spending with discretionary and mandatory, whether it be in Alabama or Washington, D.C., with these larger bills, as we saw in the One Big Beautiful Bill now signed into law by President Trump, or by these smaller rescission packages really cutting directly into what might be the item at hand?
Yeah, well, if you got to go back on the One Big Beautiful Bill, most of that bill, 3/4 of it, is what I call the tax cuts. We made them permanent. President Trump's tax cuts, we had to do that. Saved every taxpayer across the country 22% on the bottom line on the federal income taxes. So we had to get that permanent. And then there is going to be a lot of investigation while President Trump is into every agency of what we're spending, why we're spending it, how can we save money, how can we put money back into the budget and do different things with it. We need to spend money here. That's the reason money's sent here, but we need to spend the money that's only sent from the federal, from all the citizens across the country, which is close to $5 trillion. And if we can't run this country on $5 trillion, we're not gonna make it. We got to find a way to make sure that we do things the right way. spend it the right way, take care of the people that need to be taken care of, and not just overbloat the federal government, which has been done for the last 25, 30 years.
And one of the more frightening additions to what we've learned in the last few years with DOGE, with all these efforts like yourself, really a citizen coming in to serve the constituents and cut back on this spending, is the fact that the Chinese Communist Party, the purchases of American farmland surging from 13,720 acres in 2010 to 383,935 acres in 2021. Alabama is the fourth largest amount of foreign-owned land right here at home for RSBN. We are home here in Auburn, Alabama, and we know that 2.2 million acres across the state owned by the Chinese Communist Party. How can you address this, as you did last week with USDA Chief Brooke Rollins in the Senate, but also as you pursue being governor of Alabama?
Well, first of all, this is all caused by overspending. It's caused by regulation, way too many regulations that are put on our farmers. Our farmers wouldn't have to sell their farmland if they can make a profit. And what has happened over the years, there's been so many regulations. The input costs have gotten so expensive, whether it's a cotton picker or whether it's a tractor, the things that they have to use on a farm. There's no possible way with the prices that they see now that they can make a profit. So at the end of the day, what are you going to do? You're going to keep running up against a wall every year and keep building your debt up, or are you going to say, listen, enough's enough? And we're going to get out of the business and we're going to sell our land. We're going to sell our land to builders, contractors, and make a profit. So we've got to find a way to where the American farmer can make money. And how we're going to do that? It starts with the tariffs that President Trump's put on other countries. Unfortunately, the Democrats want all of our food to come from outside our borders. They don't want farming because they believe in the climate hoax. They believe that we're ruining our climate. It's cost this country $500 billion just in the last 4 or 5 years, the climate nonsense that they've been pushing. But what it's done also, it's almost put our farmers out of business. So I look forward to, as you said, coming back being governor here in a couple of years. But we got to do it right now. We're going to lose. If we don't have decent crops this year with good prices, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands or more farms, and that farmland is going to be sold. And, you can't blame our farmers for wanting to sell it to the highest bidder. I mean, you don't want to say, listen, you can't sell it to this group because they might have some kind of influence from Russia or Iran or China. We want them to get the best price, but we don't want to sell our land to people that want to come in here and do different things with our property, or even buy land around military bases, and that's a national security problem. So there's a lot of implications here, but again, it all starts with the farmer not having that opportunity to make money off the crops that they raise.
And one of your colleagues, Senator Adam Schiff, this week might be guilty of mortgage fraud. This is a launched attack that was used against President Trump falsely by the New York Attorney General in that grand scheme of lawfare that took place prior to the 2024 election. Is there anything the U.S. Senate can do to censure him as a member, as the United States House of Representatives did before he became a senator?
Well, that needs to come from our leadership, and I understand it. They did something in the House when he was in the House, and he broke the rules or the law. Same thing in this situation. The reason that the Democrats don't want President Trump, because he believes in a law and order country. The Democrats don't, and it all starts here in D.C. It's the most corrupt place I've ever been involved in. We've got money going out the door, front door, back door, side door, and there's nobody that really wants to stop it but President Trump. And he is bound and determined to put people in jail that do the wrong things. But it's hard to pin people down when there's so many irons in the fire here in D.C. and there's so many things that they can go after. I mean, it is just rampant up here, and the American people have started noticing it. They voted, almost 80 million people voted to put somebody in office that's a businessman that believes in the country, that will try to put people in jail for this. But I'll tell you, it is it is hard to pin this all down, but I think more and more of it will come out. The problem, again, too, is the national media is not on America's side. They're on the socialist side, they're on the Democrat side, and they're not going to portray people like who you're just talking about with breaking the law. They're going to try to push the narrative that President Trump is somebody that's lying to the American people and he's not doing things to help the American people. But let me tell you, I've seen it all up here, and I've seen the corruption that has been rampant, and thank God President Trump is in the White House.
And Senator Tuberville, we know that you are busy in Washington, D.C. with countless items on your desk. But for some fun, we also know you're one of the most storied coaches in college football history. So putting on the hat of Coach Tuberville for a moment, how about our hometown Auburn Tigers? Can you give a projection on the season and the forecast for 2025 college football as we're in this new era of not only a golden era for America, but also for college football with the new programs?
Yeah, well, I'd love to be able to tell you I know a lot about the program. Really, the program is in good shape, and college athletes are coming to Auburn, they're coming to Alabama, Georgia, they're coming to SEC because it's very important. But at the end of the day, it's hard to pinpoint how good your team's going to be when you don't know who the players are going to be till the last minute. The NIL has, and I've been trying to work with other senators to try to help put the pieces back together of college athletics, because if we don't do it, we're going to lose Title IX, we're going to lose women's sports, Olympic sports, because all the money is going to have to go to men's football and basketball. But I think that Auburn will be better this year. I've seen some of the names that have come across the wire, so to speak, that's going to transfer in and take the pay for play. But again, you just never know at the end of the day. The one thing about college football, it is about continuity. It's about doing things together. It's about learning to play together. And when a lot of the guys only have 1 year instead of 4 or 5 years to play together, it's hard to put together that consistency. But very tough league, the SEC. I think Auburn will be much better and hopefully can get off to a very good start.
And before we part ways, regarding the NIL, whether as a senator or as you pursue the governorship of Alabama, do you see any further legislation to address NIL as it has greatly reformed the league for better and for worse, pending who you talk to?
Yeah, we're trying to get something done from a congressional standpoint. I think you might in the very near future see President Trump step out and do something on his own in an executive order. I've talked with him several times about this. We've visited. I helped him try to set up a commission to help this. I think at the end of the day, we need to. There's several areas that we need to look at. One is a transfer portal. One is the pay for play, which was not meant by the federal judge in California that started this nonsense. It was meant that you come in and you market your name after you have success. So we have to get away from this transfer portal, so to speak, and put some limits on it. Again, I'm for players making money, but I'm also for players getting an education. And the way that we have it structured right now, no education is out there. Players can transfer every year. If you transfer one time, you're very unlikely to get that degree. And so we've got to put some education back into it. Most of that's going to be transfer portal. And the other one is you're not getting money as a pay per play, but when you get here, you can make the money all you want. You have to market yourself. You have to do what you need to do, but you do it by being able to sell your success on the field or on the court. That's what it was meant to be.
Education, the great equalizer that not only shapes extraordinary athletes, but great men. And we know that you exemplified that, Coach, during your time at Auburn and throughout your tenure in college sports. United States Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, thank you for joining the Voice of Reason and for being on the right side of history. We look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thank you.